Hello, everyone, and welcome to the session. I am pretty sure this is much awaited. And we have here with us Abhinav Kumar. Abhinav has been a close associate of mine. We have been working, or we have been in close relationship with one another for the last decade or so. And I've seen him grow in leaps and bounds. And thanks to his perseverance and thanks to his keen eye towards data, now he is Vice President, Credit and Risk Analysis in Citibank, USA. And thank you so much, Abhinav, for providing your time and for having given time to showcase your abilities on data as well as how you have actually ventured into this space of data.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bharani. I will start with, first of all, thank you, expressing my gratitude to the 360 Digit MG family, because you, Sharat, you know, everyone, Nitin for that matter, right? I've met all of you personally, and it has been a great experience. And I sincerely thank you with all my heart, Bharani, because of you, I am here. Okay. You were the
Thank you.
one, me, right? I think you are the best mentor that I ever got. I mean, the way you teach things, the way you simplify things, and how you quickly turn around. I think that I learned from you a lot, and it made my journey easier, right? I remember I started my career with IBM, and I was there for about 2.5 years, and I was looking at a lot of other things where one of the times I got an opportunity to work with a quality team out there, and that was the first time I realized whatever I studied in my college or undergraduate days, the mathematics or statistics, right? How it is being used in the real world. And that fascinated me a lot, but that was a very short stint. And then I moved on to Citibank, where there was a lot of data being used, right? But again, I was more into the front ending side of it and not towards the data side of it. But we used to, work with very closely with the decision management team out there who used to make a lot of or help us make a lot of decisions by looking into data. And that was another very fascinating experience. And that kept me thinking that, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Because these guys are doing very important stuff. And strategy is one of the areas where I'm very, very interested, right? I really want to help and navigate businesses through, the knowledge base that we have. So, yeah, so that was a journey out there. But then, of course, I was just, as an affiliate, used to work with data. And then I met you, and things changed a lot, right? And being a person from a non-IT background, because I never, the last coding before meeting you I would done was in my 10th grade when I used to use GW Basic. And after that, I never used computer science, although you wanted to be, but then somehow, life took a different path and it evolved in a way which I appreciated a lot, right? So,
Yeah.
it was very exciting to me because there were a few things through my MBA days that I knew, right? I still remember, sitting in your class when I mentioned the word heteroscedasticity, you made it a point to say, who said that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
so 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 I remember, and that encouraged me also a lot, that fine, I think I know at least 2% of it, and probably the 98% of it, that bridge I need to cross. But yes, there was a strong interest. And one of the things that was there with me was that, yes, I was coming from a non-IT background, right, and no programming experience at all. So I knew the challenges in front of me, but then I thought that there are certain things which we can definitely do, right? If we want to, we can definitely achieve those things in life. And started working with R, started working with Python, and I realized that the structure overall is very similar to whatever we are doing. It's just that you have to put your mind to it to do it. And it was not that difficult, yes, but you have to put in a lot of time to learn it, right? Keep practicing. Another interesting thing was that when you gave me the opportunity to, uh, train few of your batches, that is where my real learning started happening, because that is where the reinforcement of the information started happening. and I don't know whether it's a folklore or not, but it's always been quoted that Richard Feynman has said that if you want to learn something, try to teach it to someone, and that is the best way to learn, right? And I remember, listening to your recordings multiple times, making those notes out of it, because when I have to go to the class, I have to be perfect. I need to have all the answers. Of course, I'll not have all the answers, but and that actually made things very clear. Each time I used to prepare for a class for the training, right? I used to, explore something new about that particular concept, even for linear regression or logistic regression for that matter, right? So that helped me a lot. That helped me grow. But I had this mind which was very, very clear that I don't come from a technical background, right? And I have to, look at my career in a way where I can use this knowledge, this skill set, right? Where I can put it to good use, where I can create a larger impact for the organization wherever I work. So I had decided that it's very important to take baby steps in terms of, uh, how you want to reach to your ultimate goal. All right. And the opportunities that I got from you, from other places and all, that helped me a lot. Yes, it took me about 5 years to reach where I wanted to, right? But it helped me cleared up a lot of things because, when we talk about deployment, when we talk about many other things or data pipeline or data engineering, I had no knowledge about it, right? And slowly and very, very steadily, I was able to learn those things. But uh, as a person, and this is again for all the people who are there in the room right now, this was my personal choice, right? I thought very consciously about it. uh, what is it that I want to do? Because this field is large and ever evolving, right? I mean, look at the natural language processing side of it. There is so much of innovation that is happening. There are every new time there's a new algorithm or some new development happening on that side of it. And how much can I learn, right? See, we have to be mindful of the fact that we can't learn everything, but whatever we know, we need to put that to the best of use, right? So I consciously decided that for me, there were two tracks. Okay. Either I pick up a track where I completely get into the technology side of it. Okay. Or I think it from the perspective of business that I have certain skill sets with me. Now, how can I use that for business, right? And my idea was more that I want to be on the decision making side of the business, right? And more towards the strategy side of business. So what is it that I need to do? So I took a mindful decision. I took a step back, okay, and I evaluated both the tracks, and I felt that because my core competence is on towards the business side of it, learning all these technologies is good. Doing a lot of these things hands-on is also good. But at the end of the day, I want to navigate the business. I want to steer the business through, right? And that is the path that I took rather than going into the complete technology side of it. And it has helped me. It worked out for me really well. All right. Because I knew with age also, it happens and everybody is different. You get some inertia also, right? You will learn a lot of things, but then there is some inertia also comes in. So how do you overcome that inertia and how do you channelize that in a much better way to do things and get the throughput out there? So that helped me a lot. And like today when I'm working with the bank, so what I'm doing is that I am helping business leaders take decisions over there, right? So there are larger teams that do modeling, they do risk modeling, they do credit analysis modeling. And the good part is with the background that I've had through my formal training, right? I have the see through in understanding what those teams are doing, how they are building the models, what are the strategies they have picked up, what are their assumptions, right? What is the domain knowledge that they have put in to make certain rules, right? And basis that I look at a very portfolio level as to how the portfolio is performing, and accordingly, I'm able to advise the business leaders on how the policy should be framed, or if any policy needs to be relooked at or changed at all, right? So having that fundamental knowledge of understanding how things are happening at the back end, that helps me a lot in the job that I do, right? So that has helped. So as a person who comes from a non-IT background, I think I have been able to crack the code in terms of how I want to use this particular skill set. Because I'll tell you a small story. I know my answer is getting very long, but let me
Mhm.
just also this that when I started exploring this side of data science and machine learning, there were many places that I went to, and I remember there was one of my friends who was running a very nice again, a professional training institute in Gurgaon. So she said, why not? You should come and talk to us and we will look at it. And then she was very kind enough to go forward and talk to organizations that, I know someone who has 14, 15 years of experience and wants to learn this. And do you think you would be ready to hire such people from such backgrounds, right? And later on, she came back to me and she told me that, I feel getting you hired would be a very, very big challenge for yourself also in the market, right? It was disheartening because I was ready to learn, right? But there are not, and why is it that there are no takers in the market? So that is when, again, I kept thinking about it. How is it that I will navigate through? How is it that I can help myself do this? Because this is the future. At least I know that for the next 20 to 25 years, I'm set and I'm going to do what the market is going to expect me to do, right? So, yeah, so there were multiple steps that I navigated through, and here I am today.
Wonderful. That is a very, very motivating roadmap that you have given to all the folks who are attending this session, Abhinav. Thank you so much for that. And being a person from non-IT background, sure, you will have your share of challenges, but the wealth that you carry along with you is your domain knowledge. Do you agree with that, Abhinav?
Of course, 100%. It always helps. That's a very small example that I want to take. When we do logistic regression, right? What we do is that we get the probability, of the outcome. But how do you even, justify that probability whether the event will occur or not? And that will come through domain experience only, right? Like I am taking care of the credit card business out here. So through our past experience, we know when we are running logistic regression models, what is the threshold that we should keep, right? And those things are very, very critical, and that comes only from the domain knowledge. And domain knowledge is very critical. And of course, when you do not have the domain knowledge yourself, don't be shy enough. Reach out to people and try to talk to them and understand, right? Things. There are people who will be more than happy to help you out to help you understand things.
Absolutely. And one more thing which Abhinav was telling participants and friends who are attending the session was that he never left the track. His perseverance is something that I always admired, right? He had put his eyes on a specific profession and he wanted to get there. So he never left the track. Abhinav, having said this, if you were to give one key suggestion to our students and participants to get into the field of data science, what would that be?
I think it's a high engagement and high involvement work, right? I mean, the very primary thing is that you have to love it. You have to fall in love with this work, right? And that happens very naturally. You don't need to push yourself through it. At the very first go, whether you like something or not. And at the very first go, I think I liked it. I'm totally in love with it, right? See, these days I'm not doing modeling on my own. I'm not trying to, do data engineering on my own with my own hands. There are teams to do it, right? But then I still get involved in the process. I would say probably I'm doing a bit of a micromanagement out there, but then it always helps me. I want to see how my teams are doing it. What are the new things that they're thinking about? And it is only about involvement. The more you're involved, the more you will evolve, right? So I think that is one of the key things I believe is quite critical in this field because it's a very intensely knowledge driven field and you have to be involved, highly engaged.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one more key thing that you were talking about, Abhinav, is training, right? And I completely second that thought that if you're delivering training, then you should be 100% clear with the concepts that you're delivering. And in the due course, you put in more effort.
Right.
And alongside that, your journey of Korean Airlines, right,
Yeah.
where you have probably built 12 odd projects in the space of cargo management. I'm sure that would have added to your profile. And also the project in the space of judiciary, the
Right.
NLP project that you have done. Yeah.
Right.
Would you like to speak more about what is the kind of impact these projects have had on your resume? Working on these kind of live projects, do you think would give you that required edge over the other folks?
Of course, 100%. I think Korean Airlines project was not an easy project at all because one of the challenges that I saw was that they were at that time getting into the field of doing these things, right? And traditionally their bookkeeping in terms of data was not that structured, okay? And the kind of data that we had got, our team had got to work on at that point of time, extremely volatile, extremely erratic, when I was working there, it took me almost a month's time to understand what the data is out there. And trust me when I say everyone out here that there were only two columns, right? There were only two columns, and it took me 1 month's time just to understand that. It might sound very funny. Why does it take? But no matter the different types of models that we were building, we were not even able to achieve a MAPE of 10% at all. Okay. 30%, 40%, and that is the time when I started exploring a lot. Reading research papers actually help. If you have time, if your client is giving you time, you can, invest some time in reading research papers. And I can't, emphasize, enough that how important it is that you should give yourself those opportunities. Of course, reading these papers is not easy, and it was not easy for me also, right? But then you develop your own heuristics to do things, right? Understand things well. And over there, there were certain models like Arch and Garch models, which are used in the finance side of the world, right? I tried that also. So I learned those things on the job. And I can't tell you how helpful it was. I remember I was having a discussion with another organization for a consulting project at that point of time. And when I explained them, what I had done and how I had done and the things that we have experimented with, right? So everybody knows that, you might not be able to come up with 100% foolproof answer for things, but your approach, the kind of effort that you put creates a lot of impact, right? That somebody is trying to get answers for you. So that is very, very helpful. There were different techniques that I looked into. There were different things that I learned. So Korean Airlines was quite an impactful experience that I had. And I'm very thankful that I got that opportunity as well through 360 Digit MG. It was very nice. And secondly was the NLP project. So this was something which was more academic oriented, right? So one of my professors had given me the challenge that, one of the biggest challenges these days in the law world is that there are multitude of ways how you can interpret law, and everybody can have a different interpretation. It cannot be challenged, right? And there's a lot of unstructured data out there. So if you look at the whole value chain of law, you will see there are so many players out there. There's judiciary, there are law research teams, there's police, there are attorneys, there are litigants, there are defense, right? And everybody for a particular case is trying to put in their time and do a lot of research to figure out that they have a favorable outcome, right? Even the judiciaries put in a lot of effort before giving any verdict. They get their own research done. They refer to a lot of books, past cases, and all. So the idea was that how you can build efficiency into this whole value chain so that, you know, you can reduce the time by which you can get an output or a verdict. Because everyone out here knows, right? In India right now, there are millions and millions of cases pending. Why? Because there is so, I mean, this is one of the reasons. Of course, there are many other reasons that there is 60%, paucity of judiciaries out there. There are no judiciaries available to do these things. So my professor had given me the challenge that why don't you look at the cases, right, and try to build a computational visual narrative out of it, right? So that rather than going through 200, 300 pages, you just look at one screen and you are able to understand what was the story. So who was the litigant? Was there any kind of altercation? Who were the parties involved? Who were the prime suspects? Who were the prime witnesses? Who was the judiciary? What cases do they refer to in this particular verdict, right? And how the verdict was taken. So if you can put that on one screen, it would be very, very helpful, right? And this is like a work that has never been done, right? In many other fields, you can say that this has been done, but in the case of judicial system, it has not been done. And India, the challenge is that we have about 122 different languages, right? Out of which about 21 languages are scheduled and the rest of them are unscheduled languages. Now imagine in some hinterland of India where there are a lot of tribals, something happens and that gets reported into an FIR. How difficult it becomes to, take down that information and then take it forward. There was one particular case that I was working in, and this case was from Maharashtra, right? Where a person actually went to a marriage, and there he had an altercation with a few people, and later on those people came back and dragged him out of the party, and they abused him, and eventually he lost his life, right? And that case took about 30 years to get resolved, right?
Oh my God.
Yes. So that is the issue. And there were prime witnesses, but then language is one of the things. So suppose, I come to the police station, I go to the police station to report a complaint, but someone from a different background, different language, who speaks a different language is out there. His or her interpretation is going to be different. So when that person takes down the FIR, the story changes a bit. When that moves ahead in the value chain, the story changes a bit, right? So at every level, there is some kind of, information that is getting altered, right? And now think about the judiciary as to where they sit and how they have to, pick up the threads to understand what could have gone wrong. Eventually this particular case went to Supreme Court, and then it was resolved, right? Supreme Court was able to take out all the strings and try to resolve it, and said that, you have to give some benefit of doubt to a few people who were arrested. So those are the challenges. So these two guys who were actually pulled and dragged into this case, they could have easily got out of the case, right? If the trial courts or the lower courts have taken the judgment properly or looked into the information properly, right? So I think that is still a very, very challenging project. We are still involved in that. We are still doing some things over that, because it'll take a lot of time, because the language that we use in the legal area, it is very confusing. Not confusing to the lawyers or the people who are working through the industry, but to a normal people. So it takes time to understand those things and interpret well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Abhinav. So I think, yes, thank you so much, Abhinav, for explaining about your journey to become a successful, I would say, vice president of one of the leading banks in US, and the way you are, guiding the decision makers and the business leaders. I'm pretty sure they are going to benefit a lot, because it's all data driven, and your knowledge levels are, far above than the normal people that I've come across. And so, friends, a few things which I wish to tell you based on what Abhinav has just told us is that training is one of those skills which you have to hone. And when you start delivering trainings, you'll have that additional seriousness. And you know that you'll be facing an audience of 20, 30, 40, 100 folks, and 100 different people will be thinking from different directions. They'll ask you pointed questions. So you better be prepared. So that will actually help you move and prepare your interviews pertaining to data science in a serious manner. And also, please work on the real-time projects. Abhinav did not confine himself to only the Korean airlines, 12 different forecasting models in the space of cargo, but he has gone and looked out for opportunities in various pockets, and one of that is judiciary. And being a person from non-IT background, and being a person who never coded after 10th, right? That is what Abhinav had to say. And being in a position of vice president of risk team, where they analyze a lot of data, is in itself is a big achievement. And here I just want to show you the LinkedIn profile of our friend. Thank you so much, Abhinav. I'm extremely proud of you, and I'm extremely happy to be in touch with you. Hopefully we will meet very soon in US.
Of course, I'm looking forward to that.
Sure, Abhinav. Thank you so much, Abhinav, for your time.
Thank you so
It's
much,
really a
buddy. I'm
pleasure.
very happy that I met you. So thank you for all your assistance and guidance.
Anytime. Thank you.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.